love the idea of paying it forward, the concept that we respond to being treated with kindness and generosity by doing the same for someone else. It's one of those values that is ingrained within the third sector, into community groups, and into the personalities of those people who just seem to radiate goodness. It's the shining light within everyone that I look up to. There's no doubt it comes naturally to some people, but to others it takes a bit more work. When I ask people who I work with what their motivation is, why they work so hard to do what they think is right, they tell me that they feel a sense of duty to help other people going through an experience that they've been through themselves. It's that sense of duty that compels them to do something about it, to take action. It's these values of kindness and compassion that so often provide the guiding light when you're working towards creating something, or fixing a problem, or sharing your story in a way that helps others. These are the stories that keep me going too, that inspire me and motivate me. When we think about paying it forward though, the advice we hear is often to do the same for someone else. I agree with that, but I feel there's more to paying it forward, which draws on our personal experience of the world. If we've learned how to cope with something, or realised we were strong enough to survive something, it might not be so much about passing on that experience, but rather that our experience, particularly our struggles and hardships, underpin that kindness and compassion that we can take with us as we navigate the road ahead. So here are 7 alternative thoughts about paying it forward. Here's the short version. Whether you can give time, money, skills or expertise, do that. But let's look into this a little deeper. Can you give some time? Giving your time can be anything from giving a few hours a week at a local community group to doing a one-off favour for someone. It's easy to think we don't have enough time for anything else, to add anything extra and optional to our plates. But finding even a few minutes here and there to help out where you're needed can make all the difference, both to ourselves and to the person, people or group that you're helping. You might prefer to schedule in some giving time each week or month, helping out at a specific place or event. But if that feels too much, just start out by looking at what you already do. Chances are you're already giving your time. Think about those family members, friends or neighbours whose lives you make a little easier just by being helpful. Can you give some money? Again, this might be a regular arrangement, such as a monthly donation to a charity, a small amount of money that comes out of your account each month that you hardly notice. Or it might be putting your name down on a friend's sponsorship form, or putting some spare change in the charity tin at the supermarket. It all adds up and it all counts. Can you give some skills and expertise? You might be able to bake fabulous brownies for the school fair. You might know how to fix a neighbour's leaky tap. You might stop and help someone who's broken down on the motorway to jumpstart their car. You might be able to give someone a character reference for a job. These small acts of kindness are priceless. You might have seen the popular NBC drama New Amsterdam. Dr. Max Goodwin is tasked with fixing the system at America's oldest public hospital. And he does this by basically breaking all the rules and going renegade. But he seems to achieve almost everything he does by starting out every conversation by asking, "How can I help?" At first this sounds genuine and empathetic, and after a while it starts to get a bit cheesy. But nevertheless, it got me thinking that we hardly ever ask people, "How can I help?" Instead, we assume that those people closest to us will let us know what they need and when they need it. Try asking, "How can I help?" and see if you can provide something for someone at a time when they may not feel like they can ask for help themselves. Do you know what you're naturally good at? The chances are you have a good idea of your strengths and weaknesses. This information can be useful when working as part of a team or thinking about changing your career. But it can also help to work out where you can be of most use. If you've ever felt helpless, or that you want to do something to make a situation better and you just don't know where to start, reflecting on what you do best can give you some direction. There are lots of skills assessments and personality tests out there. I'll link to a couple of my favourites below. There are 2 parts to this. When to stay quiet. As I often say to my children, as was said to me when I was younger, If you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Which, to be clear, isn't the same as saying don't speak your mind or don't stand up for yourself. But just to be aware that a thoughtless comment can stay with someone for a long, long time. So if it's not kind or necessary to say it, maybe keep it inside your head. And when to speak up. So there's also deliberately saying something supportive and encouraging, even if you don't fully understand someone else's motivation or ambition. Usually we don't need each other to fully understand our point of view or what drives us to chase after our dreams. More often than not, we just need someone to believe in us, to give us a little encouragement, to cheer us on. If a friend is telling you about an idea or a goal or something else that they're uncontrollably excited about, don't look for the reasons it won't work or tell them that it's going to be tough. Even if you don't quite get it, just saying, yeah, go for it, you'll be great, is really all they want to hear. If you ever had the feeling growing up that there wasn't somebody like you doing what you aspired to do, remember that you now get the opportunity to be that for someone else. This isn't about being famous or successful or even being the best at something. It's simply about representation. It's about demonstrating, if I can do this, you can do this. This might be about your job or your work. It might be about your family or your lifestyle. It might be about gender or race or sexual orientation or social background. It might be about your achievements or your opinions, your standpoints or your politics. But it could just as easily be about your values, your approach to life, how you treat people and how you deal with a difficult situation. You don't have to be in the public eye to be a role model. Whether you're at work or out shopping or socialising, whether you're travelling somewhere or attending an event, whether you're chatting to a friend in a cafe or commenting online, you might be surprised who's looking up to you. What do you want them to see? I heard this from George Cow, who got it from Paul Hawken, and the advice is to go where you're respected. If you've ever tried to start a business in a new sector or learn a new skill from scratch as an adult, you'll know what it feels like to feel out of your depth and uncomfortable at that starting point. I have this tendency to start a new hobby, get completely obsessed with it, tell everyone it's the best thing in the world, and then convince myself it's a good idea to start a new business around it. Sometimes that works, sometimes it's exactly that level of excitement that's needed to get an idea off the ground and make it successful. But other times it fizzles out, you lose your motivation, you reach the extent of your knowledge, you run out of steam, or you just don't want to do it anymore. Which isn't to say that you shouldn't start new hobbies or new businesses or new anything based on passion. But if you're actually looking to make an impact, to make a positive difference to other people, then that advice to go where you're respected is what I usually recommend and what I try to follow myself. Another way to think about this is, what do people usually ask your advice on? If a friend or acquaintance or just somebody walking through the office stops to have a chat with you and they say, can I just pick your brains? What are they usually wanting to talk to you about? I fought this for a long time, determined to follow my passions rather than my expertise. And then I took some time out to answer this question honestly. Almost without exception, the thing that people stop me to ask me about, whether it's on the school run or at the gym or just out and about or in a random text message, is how can I get this thing funded? Whether it's like, how do I start this group to get it funded? Do you know who might be able to pay for the repairs to the community centre roof? Or do you know how we might be able to raise money to run the arts festival this year? And once I accepted this, everything became a lot easier. It stopped feeling like I was walking into the wind, and instead I was just being carried along by a gentle breeze. So what do people ask for your advice on, and what could that mean for you? Sometimes it's not about doing something, taking action, but instead about not doing something, not reacting. If you're a driver, you'll know there are plenty of people out there who will cut you up, forget to indicate, get cross with you because they're late for something and it's your fault, it's a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit. You can let it get to you every time, or you can just let it go. When someone says something hurtful or completely misses the point, or they say no when you ask them to do a favour even though you've done a million things for them, just let it go. If your partner hasn't got around to calling the roofer, which you asked them to do 6 months ago, and now there's a damp patch on your bedroom ceiling, just call the roofer yourself, get it sorted, and then let it go. So much of life is about not reacting. if it's not life-changing and it's not urgent and it's not going to matter in 12 months' time, then just reminding yourself that your blood pressure, your stress levels, your mental health is much more important than that. And take a deep breath and just let it go.